life can be oh so frustrating. Take 453. All right, so this video today, if you clicked on it, you're expecting some high-level critiques of Jonathan Haidt and Jordan Peterson and why Jonathan Haidt in this little particular spot of this conversation is probably wrong. I am a Jordan Peterson fanboy, so I'm definitely far more versed in Jordan Peterson than I am Jonathan Haidt, but I have read Jonathan Haidt, and I do know quite a bit about him, but and he is a very, very smart guy. So, to set this up, they're talking about disgust. So, my favorite biologist, outside of Brett Weinstein and Heather and his wife Heather, is Robert Sapolsky, who's really a left-wing guy, but he's a great scientist, and he doesn't let that corrupt him too much. Okay, so I've actually probably listened to 4 or 5 college lectures, a couple of them more than once, about behavior, biology, chimpanzees, the brain, and things of that nature. So I'm taking my knowledge that I learned in Sapolsky's class to tell you that I think Jonathan Haidt in this case is wrong. Let me let them set the question up and conversation.
About reasoning and fairness.
Right. That
election. So yeah, if not for disgust, I probably would have just been somebody studying relatively dry aspects of moral psychology about reasoning and fairness.
Right. That takes you down into the emotional and the instinctual level.
Exactly. That's right. Disgust
Yes.
is and there's a big debate in in moral psychology. It's a very active, exciting field, but there are people who say, well, no, it's all about harm. Everything's ultimately about harm, and everything else is indirectly harm. An anti-parsimonist, that is,
the terms that everything gets reduced to start to expand.
What do you mean?
Well, if you say everything is about harm, then you have to redefine harm so that it's universally.
You have multiple kinds of harm. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it does seem to be a mug's game in some sense, and it enables you to have one answer for everything, which is rarely helpful.
Yeah.
So I was reading Franz de Waal recently, and he's studied disgust I didn't realize that disgust did manifest itself in other animals so clearly.
It's controversial. There are some hints of it in some primates that I've heard of, but I don't think any other animal shows contagion the way we do. But tell me if he has an example.
Well, he thinks dogs show disgust to citrus fruits, which are poisonous to them because they wrinkle.
No, it's
they
distaste.
wrinkle. Well, they'll do it to the smell too.
Yeah, but it's just distaste. No, this is so.
Okay, so Peterson quotes a different research scientist, and then Jonathan disagrees with that particular instance. Okay, Robert Sapolsky goes in depth about disgust and where it comes from. So I'm going to try to do this off the hip, off my brain, so that you can see I listen well. And when I was listening to Robert Sapolsky about this, the reason I'm versed in it is because Peterson talks about disgust and Hitler, and how Hitler, he took 4 or 5 showers a day and was one of those, wash your hands type person, and that type of personality trait, because some people are higher in disgust than others, is one of the root causes of why the Holocaust happened. Hitler felt a certain way about Jewish people, and he amplified his own feelings onto a country of disgust. Dirty Jews, plague-ridden demons, blah, 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 blah. And because he's a leader, and people believed him, to whatever degree they themselves had it invoked disgust in them through learned habits, whatever. So when Robert Sapolsky was talking about disgust, I really listened to it because, again, I'm a Jordan Peterson fanboy. And this is why Jonathan Haidt is wrong. If you bite into some rotten meat, you'll instantly start puking and go, just thinking about it. You might just think about some, okay. Yeah. Think about bad milk, sour milk. And think about drinking that, right? I don't know if you've ever seen Minority Report. Oh my God. Tom Cruise Minority Report. He's got, he's blindfolded because he had surgery on his eyes and he has to wait so long. And the one of the evil guys do the black market surgery. Fridge, like good sandwich, good milk. Keep a sandwich, bad milk, right? Okay, so anyways, so that is a disgust mechanism, okay? Because your body rejects it, automatically knows it's bad. Okay, so now, as we evolved as becoming more social creatures, right? Disgust from raw meat is an individual particular to the safety of simply that animal, all right? Or organism, whatever you want to say. So as we developed in social creatures, right, we started having these social interactions that took place over eons and eons. And the brain had to start developing the frontal lobe, which is, the frontal lobe is one of the newest additions to our brain. And it takes a lot of resources, I guess. Maybe I don't know if I'm saying it right, to develop a whole new area of the brain, frontal cortex, or frontal lobe, cerebral cortex, medulla oblongata, and all those hippocampus, and all those things. It takes a long time to develop a whole new area of the brain for any adaptation or like eyesight or hearing or mapping out your hands and feelings and things like that. Okay, so what our brain is really good at doing is leeching off already scaffold mechanisms and using those already defined system alerts, reactions, and stuff like that for other purposes and things like that. So Robert Sapolsky, who is like the biologist of all biologists, right, in my opinion, says what our brains did was hijack a part of the physical disgust mechanism, right, of like rotten meat or right, and use that for social situations, for sexual drives, for things of that nature, so that when you visually see somebody with fucked up face, sores and all that, because you don't want to have sex. Well, I do, but I'll fuck anything. God, I gotta get that out of my podcast. I don't. I'm joking. I might. It's been a while, but no, I won't. In order to protect the quality of our offspring, we developed a certain awareness of contagions, things of that nature, so that when a female sees, a certain type of male with certain features, that over time, at least off that physical disgust from raw meat or contagions into causes the same biological reaction simply to seeing instead of actually ingesting it, and seeing the symptoms of it invoke a disgust in a female or male and stuff like that, vice and both. So I don't know about the orange and the face the dog makes or anything like that, but I believe Jonathan Haidt is wrong here, because I would assume he's wrong to what Jordan Peterson is saying, All right, let's rewind and just make sure I got this right.
One of the things I got from Paul Rozin, who's one of the world's experts on food and eating, the psychology of food and eating, is of course animals evolved to seek out certain sensory experiences that guide them to their food. So if you're a koala bear, if it smells like eucalyptus, you're done. But if you're a dog, you're evolved to eat meat. And when you're a kid, like you think, well,
Okay.
There are some hints of it in some primates that I've heard of.
In some sampling,
Oh,
you have
yeah.
to.
I believe
Well,
that.
the problem is the terms that everything gets reduced to start to expand.
What do you mean?
Well, if you say everything is about harm, then you
Oh,
have to
yeah,
redefine harm so that it's
Right, you have multiple
universally.
kinds of harm, yeah.
Exactly. So it does seem to be a mug's game in some sense, and it enables you to have one answer for everything, which is rarely helpful.
Yeah.
So I was reading Franz de Waal recently, and he's studied disgust I didn't realize that disgust did manifest itself in other animals so clearly.
So is it in dogs? Well, I don't know, but Robert Sapolsky says it's definitely in primates, right? It's definitely in primates. So I don't know. See, it's tricky.
Controversial. There are some hints of it in some primates that I've heard of, but I don't think any other animal shows contagion the way we do. But tell me if he has an example.
Well, he thinks dogs show disgust to citrus fruits, which are poisonous to them because they wrinkle.
No. It's
they wrinkle.
Well, so and so on that point, it makes me think because these two seem to have a little bit of a. Jordan Peterson has a general pessimistic view on why traits are traits. And in case you didn't know, he's a psychologist psychologist. Not a counselor, not a psychiatrist, psychologist or something like that. He's the top dog, PhD, master's research. And then Jonathan Haidt is a social scientist or a sociologist along those lines. So they're talking from different resolutions about humans anyways, but Jonathan Haidt seems to like to take the more positive look of adaptations. Like he was talking about eyesight, right? The reason we have whites of our eyes and chimpanzees or whatever animal they were just talking about doesn't, because you can see what I'm looking at, you can know probably what I'm thinking about, and that helps us be more cooperative as primates, right? The example was if a monkey or a chimpanzee or whatever they're talking about has a log that he can lift by himself, put against the wall to climb up and get over, he'll do it. But if that log is too heavy for him individually to pick up and put up there, but there's two chimps in that holding pen, they will never look at each other, look at that log, and go, "Hey, we both probably can do it." And one of the problems with the reasons for that is because chimpanzees have no adaptation to seeing each other's eyes, so they can be aware of where they're looking and what they're looking at. They don't care; it doesn't matter. It's not their deal. All right. So Jonathan Haidt puts out, which is true, that because of the whites of our eyes, we know what people are looking at, so we have a better idea of what they're thinking, and therefore we are more cooperative. And Jordan, being Jordan Peterson, a little pessimist, we also know what they're up to if they're going to stab us in the fucking back. So, and I'm just saying, Jordan wasn't arguing with him. Jonathan's probably absolutely right that the adaptation cooperatively is why it's still around. But it still has some useful fucking purposes besides that. Like, if you're looking at that knife and I've got a piece of cake, whoa, and you're fat, no. So I'm just saying they definitely see through their own type of lens, sociologist, clinical psychologist, and then pessimistic. And, it's about, nice things, and that's why everything's adapted. So, It wouldn't surprise me. Robert Sapolsky says that humans, or Homo sapiens, developed from social activities, hijacked a little part of the brain that was used to make the body react disgustingly to raw meat, rotten meat, or sour milk, or contagions, and which would cause a full body biological response, and therefore that's why when you look at certain things, you don't have to ingest it, you don't have to taste it. Simply viewing it or hearing it, like a fart, right? Might cause you to, physically react to it. Sorry, memories, they always get in the way. So, because dogs have been our best friend for quite a while, and they're one of the most spongy, evolutionarily adaptive, mentally adaptive, physically adaptive species of mammals, right? Dogs are highly adaptive. And I read a paper about why they are. Certain things about their genetics are just high. They're genetically developed to be adaptive, more so than even humans. So it wouldn't surprise me if, in this late day and age, dogs also, because they're socially interacting with as dogs by themselves. Like for one, a lot of people wonder if the wolf wasn't responsible for making us social, right? Whatever, because because of the social actions of dogs themselves, and then as dogs have become more integrated with our society and cultures, they too might have developed, hijacked part of their discussed circuitry, bodily discussed, ingestion discussed circuitry, and they themselves Yeah, I think Jonathan's got this backwards. What? Disgust, as we know it as an emotion, as we know it from a feeling, as we know it from something that is not actually a contagion, is not. I think Jonathan Haidt's got this wrong. He's trying to posit, based on other people's research, which I'm sure is pretty lengthy, that koala bears go to eucalyptus, and it's the desire to have it is why, because they benefit from it, is why they eat it and find enjoyment, where someone who doesn't like the taste of eucalyptus won't like the taste because it provides them with no benefit. I think that, not saying that's not necessarily true, but see how Robert Sapolsky says if you put rotten meat, and he's a biologist, Jonathan Haidt is a sociologist. So I'm thinking he's got this a little wrong here. The physical disgust mechanism came before the emotional disgust mechanism. So therefore, almost all mammals, I imagine, have a actual disgust physical trait for physical ingestion, right? Right. So, whereas Jonathan Haidt is trying to point out that, the dog is reacting that way because, he doesn't like it because it isn't beneficial for him. Peterson's trying to put forth, no, that's disgust because it's unhealthy for him. Well, raw or rotten meat is unhealthy for everyone. So I imagine mammals have a circuitry, if primates do, built into them. I don't know this. I'm not a biologist. Yeah, so I'm thinking that Peterson on this one is probably more right. I think Jonathan Haidt might be relying on someone else's research, and possibly either the researcher is wrong or he didn't quite go deep enough because that's not his. He wasn't trying to find disgust as a epidemiological a hierarchy of evolution. He was just trying to understand how creatures are or are not reacting. I don't know. I never talked to the guy. I'm saying Jordan Peterson is most likely right about this, as it concerns this conversation, as it concerns humans and whatnot. All right. If you listen to this, thank you for listening. That's my take. Enjoy the rest of your day.